a little intro, and then we'll get talking, because it's me, and it's all the pressure. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, and welcome to Smells Like Teen Angst podcast. I'm Sarah, and I am here with my cohorts as always. We've got
Keiki
and
Jordan.
And we also have a super special guest today that we are so excited to talk to. I don't know if you guys knew or not, but we're big Fourth Wing fans. And then we were talking about this at a screening for a movie and ran into our good buddy Torian Brackett, who is here. And if you didn't know, he is the voice of Dain Aetos on the Audible Graphic version of the books, which has an official name. But what is the official name? Graphic audio novel?
Graphic audio.
That's it.
There it is.
Movie for your mind or something like that.
I know. And so
That makes it sound so dirty.
I mean, some of them are.
Yeah.
They do get there.
Think about it. So I just have to tell our listeners the story of kind of how this happened, because it was really funny in my, because when we were at this, we could say Fuck, Marry, Kill is the movie that's coming out from Buzzfeed. And Torian was with a friend of mine, and somehow he heard us discussing Fourth Wing. I was like, oh, you guys big Fourth Wing fans? We're like, oh, yeah. And he's like, oh, I do the voice of Dain Aetos. And we both look at him and go, fuck Dain Aetos.
I know. I'm sorry. But
Can we talk about when you guys text me? Because they text me and they were like, oh, we met the guy who voices Dain. And I immediately text back, fuck Dain. All my homies hate Dain Aetos.
So nothing personal, Torian, obviously. But
Although I remember you thought I was maybe one of the dragons at first.
I didn't understand the thing you said at first. You said the name and it went, when it doesn't translate correctly. And I was like, I heard a thing.
yeah.
There was the mental block. It can't be Dain.
It heard Dain and was like, absolutely not.
Like, no, girl, he's Dain. And she's like, oh, no. Wait, look.
Wait, hold on.
If you listen to previous podcasts, you know how we feel about Dain. You know that Dain hasn't quite had the redemption arc that we want him to have. But there's another book coming, which is why we're doing this. And
Can
also,
I preemptively throw a challenge into our comments? Is that if you are a Dain Aetos stan, explain it to me. And you can't use Torian as part of your defense either. You just need to explain it to me.
Can't be like, Torian, cool dude. Love him. He's amazing.
great voice.
Great voice.
Voice so hot. You can't do that.
You can't do that. I don't know if you guys have listened, but I was listening on my drive back and I was like, listen to this guy. Hey.
I
will say some of the TikToks that I've seen of people engaging with the graphic audio version, it's made them think about Dain a bit more as a character, hearing him rather than just reading him, which I'm happy about.
I want to ask you a little bit about the casting process for something like this, because the only other time I've heard it was really with Daisy Jones and the Six, right? Is they kind of cast the whole book and gave us voices. So for you, when it came to being cast in voice for the voice in Fourth Wing, what was that process like for you?
So I've been working with graphic audio since 2020, kind of the height of the pandemic. And their casting process typically is they'll have a bunch of directors that are kind of sourcing what series, what books they're going to work on. And they've got this roster of people that they'll pick for their projects. It's almost like a repertory theater. So by the time I find out what book I'm working on, I've already gotten the role. And they're just like, hey, let's schedule for a day, bring you in, here's your part, bada bing, bada boom, knock it out. Fourth Wing was a little different, where I think because it was such a high profile project, Rebecca or the team or, whoever was involved wanted to hear some options. So we actually did audition in this case. And I actually originally auditioned for Xaden at the top of this before getting cast for Dain. So there was a little bit of a back and forth. And if we do get to talk to Gabe, he can tell you about his side of that as well. But there was a small audition process with Scott McCormick, who directed this or is directing this series. And the rest is history.
I love that. And the series is so interesting. When you're recording, do you hear all the extra sounds, or are those coming way later?
Those are coming way later. We don't even get to hear like what other people have done if we're kind of late in the recording schedule. It's always just us and the director giving us kind of the context. And from there, the acting does all the heavy lifting. So we hear the movie in our mind, ourselves first before it actually becomes anything else.
That's
So that kind of
harder.
answered two of my questions, because I was wondering if you recorded together to get like that back and forth and that scene partnerness of it all. But also, do you how does it work? Do you have the whole book, or is it literally just a piece of paper with like your lines on it and that's it? You have no context.
We do get the manuscript at the time of casting. And so if you're a very good, diligent actor, you'll read the whole book or the whole series, what have you, that you're involved in, so that you do have everything in your head. Sometimes people with smaller roles, they're just there to do their part, and having the director given the context is enough. It can be a lot to get like a series like Fourth Wing or like the Stormlight Archive, these really sprawling fantasy series, and have to kind of comb through it all just for the context of whatever role you're doing. So it depends on the actor, but we do have access to the manuscripts before recording day.
That's awesome. And I want to preface this that we asked you if you knew anything about Onyx Storm. You said no.
Yeah, that manuscript is on heavy lockdown, so I have not seen it. I think Graphic does have access to a version or the version, but I will never see that until the time is right.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure our listeners know we can't even pry. We can't even ask questions. He can't accidentally spoil anything.
It's all speculation at this point.
There's nothing to learn. But we are talking to Dain, which means that we will talk to, Dain is going to still be Dain. He's been Dain in both books. It's Dain.
Yeah. He's like, I'm
hopefully in the third. Hopefully. People talk about who's gonna sacrifice or who's gonna, get the axe. I'm like, no, not Dain.
I feel like he's gonna be around for a little while.
Yeah, there's
I hope so.
5 books in this series.
Yeah,
my prediction, and you can call me crazy, is that he will make it to book 5.
I appreciate that.
I see that. I see Dain in book 5
for sure. Were you a fan of this series before doing the graphic novel, or the graphic version, or is this what introduced you to it?
The latter. I had no idea what I was getting into when I had a Xaden come across my desk. I was like, okay, cool. A job is a job, and Graphic does a lot of fantasy titles, so this felt like another one on the belt for me. And then the first book released, and I went to go see what's happening on TikTok, and that's when I realized, oh, this is a thing. People care about this, and people have very strong opinions about Dain in particular. And that was just a big welcome to the fandom for me.
What's the biggest take on Dain that has really stuck in your brain a little bit from watching all the TikToks?
He's really polarizing for this community, and I'm happy to see that he elicits such strong reactions. It's really fun for me as an actor to see that, my character has that kind of impact on the people that are engaging. It's just fun to witness. And what I enjoy seeing the most from the Dain haters, I guess, is, they go and they tab through their book of all the times that he's touched Violet's face. And it's just big, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, you guys.
That was a big, I know, and thank you for listening. Before you said yes, you listened to our podcast. So
yeah, that was a hoot.
That's something we talked about a lot too, was we're put those all together, all this foreshadowing that's happening and the distrust that us as readers have. So for yourself as an actor going in, and it's with all voice, how do you keep yourself from possibly judging your own character and keeping his POV really true for yourself?
That's a great question. And I think it's a task that we come upon often in this job, is how do you justify what nefarious things a character might do as a person who doesn't do nefarious things? And you really just have to bring it back to the objectives, the wants, the motivations, bringing it and grounding it for that character. If you look at Dain as someone who's trying to protect their friend, who's seen a lot of horrible things happen in this place that someone he cares about is now coming into, kind of flipping the perspective and just seeing where Dain is coming from was helpful for me and being like, okay, all right, there's reasons for everything he's doing. And he doesn't always get to explain that to Violet. Maybe later in Iron Flame he does a little bit. But yeah, that's what keeps me in the headspace of like, okay, I get it. Even if some of our listeners maybe don't.
You know what? That really helped me though, because I just saw it a completely different way. Because we're all the villain in somebody's story,
Absolutely.
We never think we're the villain. So hearing that perspective, it's also like, well, maybe he's coming from an earnest place. Like, if you really do love and care for someone.
Nah, dog, because anybody who's on the villain in the story, they're the clown in mine. So, we ain't playing that game today.
Oh, Jordan, I love you.
A lot of people agree with that. Everyone has their limit, right? If you cross that limit, unforgivable, no matter what. And I think for some people, Dain reached that threshold, and that's just where he sits. But for other people, they're like, kind of zooming out, and what else has happened? What has Xaden done in comparison? Now I'm getting into my personal feelings.
How dare you? Shadow Xaden gets a pass. I'm just kidding.
I mean, one thing that we all have to remember though is that these are all children. Honestly, like they're very young, and I would have made some of the same stupid decisions that they have all made at that age.
And 26 or whatever.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I would make these same decisions. But I also think what really helped me is because people, when they read, sometimes allow their emotions to change who they cast and the character in their head. And I'm like, no, when I went into this, I picked the hottest guy possible against the hottest guy possible. And I was like, they were both equal on that threshold. I imagined that guy you dreamed of having from childhood, and then out of nowhere, Hottie McHot that you and you're like, he's bad. I shouldn't touch him. He's bad. And that's what I was competing with, because I was like, good versus bad. Both hot. Both hot. Like I never let that change the fact that they were both attractive.
It's the hot crazy scale. So like,
it was
how hot they are, they can get away with the
exactly. They could get away. They both could probably get away with things. What I am waiting for is a true redemption arc for Zane or for Dain. Because personally, everyone's like, but he's redeemed himself a little bit. He's joined the revolution. He's there. I'm like, yeah.
But
I'm going to need him to own up to shitting on how badass she was and believing she wasn't like that great of like the baddest bitch out there. She has 2 dragons. Okay.
That's
she's got
badass.
Like not even just 2 dragons, one of the most badass dragons, the coolest signet no one's seen in like hundreds of years. Like, don't let the looks fool you. She's a bad bitch.
Yeah.
So I just need Dain to own up to her being the bad bitch in this coming book for me to really let him redeem himself.
I hear you.
That's fair. How do you feel about the moment where he's like, I heard what Xaden said to you, and okay, all right. Do you trust him? Do you love him? Because if you do, then I do too.
That's messy because personally, because he has an investment in her, not only as a friend, but like on a
like a personal level.
Yeah. Like that's a relationship he'd also want to explore. He really doesn't have any momentum to stir the pot in that spectrum to me.
Yeah. It didn't feel sincere in some way. There was just there was like, and this could be me putting my own baggage into it, but it felt very like lip servicey. You're going to do it anyway, Violet. So yeah, I'll support you if you.
Yeah.
Very much. If you like it, I love it.
Yes. Right. Which like, listen, when if a black person ever tells you if you like it, I love it, they in fact do not really love it.
They don't love it.
I was gonna say it feels like for me, like Dain is waiting in the wings. He's like, I will be here for when he's gone, for when he for like Xaden dies, when he, is fully taken over, and then she'll have no one but me. So it do you know what I mean? Like,
you know what baggage it's giving? I just realized as we were talking about it. It's giving Gale and Peeta in the Hunger Games, which I supported
that
neither of those
yesterday.
relationships.
I said it.
Well,
Yeah,
It's
it's very
giving
much
Gale and
Peeta.
Peeta.
Look,
that is a fair comparison. But you know what I said to other people about this triangle or whatever is like, I think Dane deserves better. He deserves his own like situation separate from the
Okay.
drama that is Violet Sorrengail. Let's move on. Let's find something normal.
I agree. I would love to see that for him. 100%.
He's just got to survive long enough to get there.
I was really gonna say that like not only do I think he makes it to book 5, but I hope in like book 3 he gets a full redemption and also a girlfriend of his own, so we can stop with this like love triangle trash.
Please.
Yeah,
Please, Rebecca.
I'm like even crazier. I told Sarah, I was like, you know what? I hope they put Dane with Kat.
Yes.
Because those are two people that could not fucking stand from the books.
I was just gonna say, as long as his
Mad at
girlfriend was
Rebecca.
not Kat.
I was mad at Rebecca
Torian.
because she made me hate a woman. And I never hate women. Like, I
They
get
would
so
be
mad
the
when I'm
most
like,
insufferable ass couple. You know, sometimes like when somebody at work gets on your nerves and they could be doing the most innocuous thing, and you're like, look at them eating that Ritz cracker. Like that's how I would feel about them as a couple.
Just minding their business.
And I was like,
Minding
man,
their
fuck
business.
them. You see that shit over there?
don't tell me that's not a cauldron of mess, though. Like,
It'd be so good.
the
though.
powers that be against each other. I think it'd be so good. I like a little mess. I like a little drama. And remember, we're in a book world. We can think big.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's not made it to a screen yet.
So, let's get back to the book. Oh, we're a mess. I'm so sorry. I want to ask you because I love the voice that you're doing for Dane, and like we were saying, we're like, oh, it sounds nice. Talk to me about finding his voice and keep making it different than your own.
You know, when it comes to narration, it's in books and things like this, I feel like a lot of narrators end up having a little toolbox of like, these are my main characters, and maybe you can have a little more fun with people who are showing up for a chapter or a couple lines or a moment where you can be more dynamic. But things that you are going to have to sustain dynamically, emotionally, people that are going to have highs and lows, you want to have something that you can work with. So I feel like Dane is somewhat close to, you know, my voice, but he's hardened by being at Basgiath. He's all the same. He's young. He's a young adult with all the angst that comes with that. And so all these kind of abstract things kind of swirl around in me as I'm trying to land on like, okay, what does Dane sound like? You know, he's a love interest, so I'm probably gonna give him that, you know, that love interest smokiness to him. But yeah, all those things kind of came together, and you know, on recording day with graphic audio is where I usually decide like, okay, this is gonna be it, and just let it stick.
Not the vocal smolder.
Yeah, you start to notice a lot of these tropes come up in the stories that you're telling over and over again. It's like, okay, this is the description I'm getting. This is probably the pocket he's going to be in. How can I deviate from that to make it interesting, if at all? You know, all those levers and knobs you're pulling and turning as an actor to see where a voice might land.
I love that. When it comes to like acting for film and television, like some actors are like, we're going to give ourselves a bio. We're building our whole world. We're doing all this. Do you do the same thing when it comes to voice acting characters, or because it's a book and that's all that world building is given to you by Rebecca? Like, how much extra work do you put into acting a character like this?
It's never a bad thing to do that extra work as an actor, because when you're coming into doing these scenes, especially the more emotional ones, the more life you can bring to that, especially from your own life experience, the more real it's going to feel to you, the more authentic it's going to sound to the listener. But it's always great in a well-written story when you have so much of that laid out for you in the copy, where you can kind of just, play the action, play the scene. It becomes easy when you have a writer like Rebecca giving you everything you need on the page. So I think you can go both ways, but it's always helpful to kind of have it in pull from what's already within you. And people do that very well by doing that scene work, that actor work, that homework of, who am I, where am I coming from, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I was so curious about that because I'm like, you hear all these like film and TV actors like, well, I had to do this, then I did that.
It's my process.
My process. So I was so curious if there's a different like version going on for you. That's cool. Especially with one of the things I love about this book series, I haven't been this obsessed in years, is Rebecca's writing is so clear. Like, especially for you when reading any kind of battle scenes, were you able to see everything happening really clearly? Because normally when I read them, I get really confused, and hers is the clearest in ages.
Yeah, and especially because with Graphic Audio's adaptation of the book, they're very clear about those action moments and what's going. When we see the script, it's all in red, whatever is going to have a sound effect tied to it, and so we can see that in reading it, like, oh, they're actually getting hurt here, so we've got to do some kind of effort. All that stuff is very well laid out in the text.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What other little tidbits can you give us from the text that you're given when recording things like that? That's so neat to me.
Well, we're also like someone else is doing the narration typically. In this one, Kaya does a lot of the narration for Violet. But in other titles, you might have the director doing most of the narration. So they're giving those action moments, and like me, the character would just give the reaction, I just got hit. You might hear that from me. But so that kind of push and pull of who's leading the action, who's actually doing it. It's a very cool way that Graphic does its titles.
I love that.
Is it a long recording process?
It depends on the size of the role. Oftentimes I'm doing multiple graphic titles in a session. We'll probably do like an hour at a time, and you can fit 2 or 3 different things in there depending on the size of it. If you've only got like 20 or less lines, you could definitely do a few of those. For a character like Dain, I think for Iron Flame, I was able to do it all in one session because again, I'm just reading my dialogue lines, right? I'm not doing any narration, which you do want to allocate maybe several hours of the day for. If I'm doing a full book myself, that's going to be a couple of full, like 10 to 4 days of recording straight through. But for Graphic Audio, it's a little more low commitment, and unless you got narration to do, in which case, yeah, buckle up.
I love it. Now, if you were to have a signet, which one would you want? Have we even seen it in the books yet? Because it kind of feels like it could be anything that you could imagine.
I'm a big fan of elements, so Violet's lightning is great. I know there's somebody with ice in there. That's great. Anything like element-wise, I'd be very down for.
Like fires and stuff.
Set fires, make trees grow. What? There was that one kid in the first book that incinerated himself, though.
It's true.
That's kind of scary.
Right. Yeah, if you like lose control of it.
Yeah. I know. I'm kind of like, but I want one of those special mind powers that you're supposed to get murdered for having. Like,
See, I don't need that stress. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder every second. That would stress me out.
Right? And like some of them are useful in the book because Rebecca included them to serve the plot. But I feel like in actual life, I'd be like, this is useless. Like that girl who can like duplicate like images of other people. I'm like, why would I use this in real life outside of a wartime setting? Like, there's no use for this.
Right.
Maybe your name is Luigi Mangione and you need to do a little running for some reason.
Listen, my buddy Luigi and I played Dungeons and Dragons for a very long time on the night of December 6th.
Yes.
We were all there watching.
The whole night.
The whole night. Okay.
Crazy.
Crazy.
We're being crazy.
I know. And I know that you wanted to talk about the video game strike a little bit while we were here. So talk to me. This is still going on, right? For people who aren't aware, the strike's been going on for how long at this point?
We called it, I want to say July 26th. So we're approaching 5 months on the dot. Yeah.
That's crazy. So for those that may not know what this means and what the strike means, because everyone's like, writers, sure. Actors, sure. Video games, what's that mean? Give them a little rundown.
Yeah, so last year, writers went on strike and actors as well. The SAG-AFTRA union struck its TV theatrical contract last year. We did a whole rigmarole. We got to a deal, ratified it, bada bing, bada boom, that was done. Our video game contract, the Interactive Media Agreement, has been under negotiations since 2022. September of 2022 was when that contract was set to expire. We talk about what we want with our bargaining partners, figure out a new deal. And the big pressing issue with everything these days has been artificial intelligence. So it has been very difficult to come to an agreement on that issue. And so we went back and forth since 2022. And finally, July of this year, they're like, enough is enough. We are calling a strike. So that remains the thing that we are fighting for. What's been really exciting about this strike in particular is we've been able to kind of carve out a pathway for people to work even in the midst of a strike through our interim agreements. So, developers and companies who agree with everything we're asking for can sign a current updated contract and get right back to work. We've got nearly 150 games under that agreement right now, which is huge. It's far beyond what we were able to pull up in the last video game strike back in 2017. So to have that amount of titles available for people to work on is great and shows our employers, our bargaining partners that like, this is easy. What are you waiting for? Sign the deal. It's been 5 months. Let's go. And it just, the more companies that sign, the more pressure gets put on those people, which is it's good for us.
Absolutely. And so for those that maybe aren't here and can't maybe join a picket line, how can they support you guys?
You can follow SAG-AFTRA, who will periodically mention things about the strike when pickets are coming up. If you can't make it there, follow Game Performance Matters on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky even. That's been kind of a heavy information platform about why we're on strike, what's going on, kind of keeping membership happy and up to date and informed about what's going on, and the general public as well. I believe there is a petition that one can sign as just like a civilian to like support actors on strike, show the game companies that this is important to you. And just share information, make sure you're informed, tell your friends about what's going on. I think that's the biggest thing that we can benefit from right now is a well-informed public. Because last year, and even with this strike, I think right at the beginning, there's kind of this ramp up to like get people understanding that we don't like make millions of dollars and live in mansions just because we're actors.
No.
Most of us work at scale rates, which is like the minimum that you're supposed to get paid for on a project. That's what the majority of us will get. And when you're auditioning all the time, you don't necessarily work all the time. So it's a fight for the blue collar worker.
Exactly. When it comes to all the characters in Fourth Wing, is there one that outside of Dain that is your favorite? Or one that you wish Dain would have more scenes with, maybe?
Boy or girl?
Or both. I'm going with both of these questions.
They're so fleeting, his little back and forths with Xaden. I wish there were more of those, because I feel like there's such good, juicy opportunity for like just the little daggers they throw at each other, like fuck you.
I
fuck
feel
you
like
too.
they could eventually be like a bromance, like enemies to besties.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very Edward and Jacob.
There could be some reconciliation there.
Yeah. Like I would love, because one of our favorite, we are big Twilight people, if you didn't know. One of my favorite scenes in Eclipse that doesn't translate to the movie because it'd be weird, is that whole conversation that Edward and Jacob have while Bella's sleeping. And I would love one of those for Dain and Xaden, where they really like confess how much they care for Violet and what they're doing for her and each other. And then like what you said, Jordan, it could totally flip around eventually, hopefully, into like a bestie bromance that you just never saw coming. They're the enemies to lovers.
Yes!
Enemies to besties.
From your mouth to Rebecca's ears.
Come on, Rebecca, give us what we need.
Lovers.
There's certainly enough fanfic to support that.
100%. Have you deep dove into like that world of?
I've not actually engaged with any of it, but I am a millennial child of the internet, so I know what exists.
Yeah, 100%. I confession, when I was like 15, wrote a Backstreet Boy fan fiction.
Yes.
Oh, girl, all I did was write fan fiction in high school. I was a fucking nerd.
I'm so jealous that you guys had time for this because I definitely did not.
Oh, we had email lists. I don't know if you did this. There was like email lists going around because AOL chat rooms, and you signed up for each other's chapters. You get like a chapter a week.
Yeah, there were Yahoo groups, my dude.
On like Live Journal and whatnot.
No, just an email.
Oh, I did on Live Journal.
Oh, because there was
I'm old.
There was a girl who was like writing her life story in my class. In high school, and like I would read the chapters religiously before she posted them online. Like it was.
You were the beta reader?
Yeah. And I was just like, I don't think I learned anything in Algebra 2. And that's probably why I had to do summer school for it, because I was reading her freaking life. And it was good. It was juicy.
You're better off for it.
Yeah.
How has algebra ever helped my life? How has algebra ever helped anybody's life?
I don't use the Pythagorean theorem.
Okay, I have used some algebra in my career, but not Algebra 2, though. Not the second one.
Okay, fine.
What is that quadratic formula for? I have not PEMDASed.
No juice.
I have not PEMDASed ever in my daily life.
Not a single time.
Scientist?
No, because that's geometry.
Oh, no.
And I hated geometry, but it finally clicked for me one day, like in the second trimester. And I was like, oh, it's just, this is a circle and half and a rectangle. Oh, like it made sense,
But you need to use geometry. Like try and parallel park without it.
You have to use
need geometry.
You're like, well, how big does it need to be?
That's what she said in the book.
Let's be real. It never needs to be as big as these books.
That's the other thing that I do know that maybe in Iron Flame this happened. I don't think it happened in Fourth Wing that they decided to started recording together, especially for those love scenes, because it's so crucial to have that back and forth. You don't always get it. You don't always get that luxury of being able to be in a session with your fellow actors, but it's Zayden and Violet, so they were able to make that happen, and I think it shows in the performances.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Good.
Yeah,
gotta have that chemistry. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Chemistry.
I know. Is there any other like big book series or small book series that you would love to do one of these graphic audios for, or even just full narration for?
It's so interesting because like I started voice acting during the pandemic or around when I started working with graphic, and I wasn't like a huge reader before that. I did my Harry Potter, I did, when I was younger. But a lot of these like really popular fantasy series I'm being introduced to through graphic. So it's always a pleasant surprise when I like end up in one that people like super excited about. Blood and Ash has been released. I'm playing Kieran Kanto in that, and there's a lot of excitement around that apparently. So I'm happy to join that fray. Crescent City as well. I'm Isaiah in that one. Yeah. We love Isaiah.
I'm a huge Crescent City fan.
I read Blood and Ash, so that's exciting. That's very exciting. It's a little more YA, but I'm ready for it.
But so are we.
Check it out. We've got the first book and part 1 of the second book out right now, so give it a listen. Yeah, those are the most recent ones that I'm like, okay, cool. These are really exciting things to be a part of. I don't think what else I've done with graphic.
So is this you a reader?
So
one more time.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jordan. You ask your question.
Oh, I was gonna also because now knowing that you've worked on Crescent City, and while I love Crescent City, those books are the ones that take me the longest to read. And Sarah and Keiki will tell you, I grew up reading. I'm a voracious reader, so it does not take me a long time to read things. Crescent City does, just because that world is so large and confusing that like it takes me a while to get through the first 100 pages, and then I get back into the world and I can figure things out. So like as an actor, how do you deal with some of those challenges of like, I don't know what this system of magic is. What the fuck am I saying?
A good director will give you everything you need, because at some level, it can become just like, okay, it becomes like an acting exercise. Like, what is my objective in this moment, in this scene? If you break it down to those foundational things, all the other stuff happening around you, not that it doesn't matter, but like your director will give you what from there you need to succeed in this moment. And that's what I try to focus on when it comes to these sprawling fantasy books that like I could go insane trying to keep it all in my head. But well, I really do rely on our directors in those moments to like just, okay, this is what's happening. Go.
That's fantastic because Crescent City has like cell phones, but also dragons. So like, make up your mind.
The kind of like magical tech modern fantasy situation.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this series, so now I'm intrigued.
It's a Sarah J. Maas.
Girl, you got to finish ACOTAR first. I'm
working on it. Do you know I use the library? It takes a lot.
I gave you homework.
True. Not with the graphic audio. I did buy that. You're welcome.
Well done. Well done.
No, I love the library. The library is very helpful, but when a book pops off and then it takes 100 years, if you don't finish it in 21 days, I'm never getting it back. It's going to take like 6 months.
That is why I still have not finished Crazy Rich Asians, because the library took it back from me.
Yeah. And it takes so long. The library is great, Torian. If you don't use it, it's awesome.
See,
I really do need
Anne Rice books. I have quite a few Anne Rice books that like I started and didn't finish, and it took me like a year to read because the library took it back before I could finish. And that's so many pages.
Oh, yeah. Her books are like 30 hours long. They're crazy.
If you do an audiobook, yeah. Insane.
Buy all 10 of them as ebooks. And you know what the deal was? All 10 of them were $100. I was like...
The whole series?
The whole series. Which in theory, yes, the whole series for $100 is a steal. But at the time, I didn't have $100 money.
Well...
You're like, but still.
Right. But I did it anyway.
So, Torian, what is your fandom? Obviously, we're big Fourth Wing. We're big nerds. We love the Harry Potters, the Twilights. You could tell we have lots of things back here. What is your ultimate fandom?
I mean, I'm so much more of a gamer than a reader. So my like obsessions are like any MMO. Like I was a huge World of Warcraft guy in college
for a long time.
Oh yeah, and I can get very obsessed with that way about any like if I get into it, that's all I'm doing for like days on end. I love like the whole structures of like leveling up and picking new abilities and figuring out what's the most optimal stuff to use. And to that point, I've become a bit of a Dungeons and Dragons guy. When did that start? That was
us too.
Yeah. Are you in a campaign right now?
We are actually. And Jordan is the DM of a campaign with Keiki called Blackness and Dragons that they do over on QueueTimes.
I'm obsessed.
Right now known as Althaven. But Blackness and Dragons, we are an all-black table, and a lot of our homebrew features Black cultural references.
Oh my God.
And so we're going to come back in 2025. So if we need, a guest spot.
I mean,
come find me.
Fun. Yeah. Some of the passwords to get into places are like, who are we definitely not talking about?
Who did nobody come to see?
Nobody's coming to see Otis.
I love it. Yeah, no, back in around when Stranger Things was really gaining popularity, that was when I finally bit the bullet of like, okay, what is this D&D thing that like all the nerds do? I'm kind of a nerd, but I'm not that kind of a nerd. But then I watched those kids having fun and I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I've been hooked ever since. So I'm very much in that world. That's like my fandom for sure.
I love it. I'm new to it. I kind of jumped in because of these guys. And one of my best friends in Florida, Eric, was in a campaign forever ago. And he coerced all of us into one like fun campaign that we just do once every like 6 weeks together. We don't like put it anywhere. But yeah. So we're all big nerds and big D&D people now.
What are your characters?
I am an Earth Genasi in this campaign.
Me too.
Really?
What?
Literally.
And I'm a tank. Like I was like, I just want to fight things and kill stuff. That's my favorite.
That's crazy. I'm a high elf bard, which throws people off because she's got a lot of charisma.
Yeah.
For someone who's pretty weak and fancy.
I am a bear person rogue.
Ooh.
Yeah. Monty and I are besties. Like,
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I am also an Earth Genasi in mind, but he's a druid. And he hails from this like volcanic city where they all speak with French accents. His name is Jalev.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're in the things that they know. I feel like I'm like, hold on, what do they know? They know I'm like a goddess. If you think about Earth, I have a mother that we're looking for. I have siblings that are in charge of some other elements that we're going for, and we just had our big battle, our big bad battle that we won with what 2 seconds left. Jordan, wasn't it like?
Yeah. And there was literally our DM was basically, since half of our party is on the East Coast. They had a hard out at 11 p.m. So he was literally running a timer, and he was like, either you beat the big bad or the timer goes out and you lose regardless. So like, this is just how battle has to be tonight.
Yeah.
And we had like 30 seconds left on the timer before we were going to lose unequivocally, and just pulled it out and beat the big bad. And then my character's dad came back as a ghost. So I'm ready to pick that storyline back up.
Whoa.
I know, we get crazy. We get nerdy.
I know. I transform into a weretiger. It's like an additional level my DM weaved into my character, because I was like, you know what? I want like a familiar, like an animal familiar. And he's like, describe your animal familiar to me. And then he turns me into my animal familiar. I was like, okay, great.
Less squishy.
Less squishy, more fun.
Are any of you the rules lawyer at your table?
No, that's another.
No. Yeah. There is
I am the one at mine.
Not that person.
No, I'm like, this great.
It's funny because I am very much like a rule of cool DM. So if it's funny or it makes me laugh or like it makes sense in the scene, I'm going to let it go regardless of whether or not that's like the rules. But because I've been DMing longer than our dungeon master for that campaign, he often looks at me and he's like, can they do that in the rules? And I'm like, I don't give a shit, man. It's funny. Let us do it.
Yeah. This is his first campaign. So he's like really excited and also very nervous, but he's doing such a good job. So
that's awesome.
I couldn't imagine doing what he's doing. So
DMing is hard.
I'm just a chaos. I'm a follower when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. And I feel bad because sometimes I'm like, real life me would be like, no, let's not burn down the house with kids in it. But then D&D me is like, all right, y'all.
Burn it down.
You're Sam Winchester. That's what it is.
If anybody y'all want to set on fire? Okay, I got some matches. Like, whatever.
No.
You really get to see like people's true colors with D&D.
Yeah, I'm like, it's fake. I don't have to be good. But I'm not like, they're not real kids I'm killing, so
it's all right.
I feel like you should play GTA to blow off stress, Keiki. If you've never done that, you would probably really enjoy it.
I used to. Are you kidding me? I love GTA. I have playlists devoted to my favorite music from GTA. I used to chaos play on GTA just to try to get to 5 stars, where literally the FBI, every helicopter is, you're getting bombed while you're stealing, to see if I can escape the police at 5 stars.
That's where I love the chaos out. Like GTA, just like, whatever, I'm gonna rob this car. I'll punch this guy in the face.
Exactly. I'm going to beat a hooker with a purple dildo because I need money.
It's GTA.
It's GTA.
Sarah has never had to bleep an episode, and I feel like she's gonna be sitting by the bleep button when she edits this one.
Oh, there's another one.
God. Can we say purple dildo? Shit. I just had to push the explicit button, and then we're fine.
I mean, it was
not for kids,
right?
A real thing you could get on.
No, it's true. Jennifer, my sister, used to do that too.
Yeah, it was a cheat code.
I know. Torian, your face during that whole thing was hilarious, just so you know.
Well, I was sitting there thinking like, well, GTA is made by one of our bargaining partners. So...
Oh, I am
Let
so
me know
sorry.
if you need me to cut that out. I will. That's not
you actually don't. It's really fine.
Okay. I'm like,
what I was thinking of was like, damn, I've turned down a lot of auditions for the next one because of this.
but good for you. Stand by it.
But you know what?
Oh, yeah.
That makes me feel better because I'm always like, we got this before GTA 5. So at least you know it's happening. You said you've turned down auditions. That means they actually might be making it.
Hopefully. Well, yeah, we've definitely seen some footage of what they've got cooking. But
I've
yeah,
seen
it's
stuff
a ways
too, but
away.
I'm still like, where is it?
Oh well.
There's a strike, so
it's been years, and now we're in a strike.
Hopefully,
But
it doesn't come before the strike.
To bring it back around to the topic of this podcast, quote unquote.
Oh yeah,
I will say that is why I respect Rebecca Yarros, because we got, Fourth Wing, and then it took maybe like a year and a half, 2 years for Iron Flame to come out. And I will say, I finished Iron Flame in a number of days, and 2 weeks later, she was like, I got you, bitches. The next one comes out next year. Calm down.
Yeah, the fact that there's such a fast turnaround is exciting, and I'm very much looking forward to where this goes. We had a huge cliffhanger with the first one. We've got an even bigger cliffhanger with the second one. As far as where Dain is going for the third one, we know, as we said previously, nothing.
I truly do.
But do you have any hopes of where you want him to go in this third book other than staying alive? We've all said you're staying till book 5. That's what's
right. Definitely staying alive. Definitely, finding someone to put his energy into that isn't Violet. Something productive like a hobby. Something away from the drama that is Violet Sorrengail. I want that desperately.
What is Dain's hobby?
I imagine crocheting, like right off the top. The first thing I was like, they're out fighting a war and they come back to their brig or whatever, and Dave's just sitting there with a bunch of socks, like, guys, I made these while you were gone.
Redemption arc.
What if he writes? What if he's
if he's the one writing the book?
Yeah,
he's the one doing the fanfic.
Yeah,
right.
He's the fanfic guy. I mean, he can touch people and figure out their innermost thoughts and what's happening. He's like, that's spicy. I mean, but also, oh, how intrusive. Like, what if you touch someone and then you go through something you don't want to see?
Yeah.
This is why I never wanted the power to read thoughts. Like, not in Twilight, not ever. Because I was like, I would hear some shit that I don't need to hear, and then it would be burned into my brain.
Yeah.
You become responsible for that information. Yeah. You become a mandated reporter. Like, oh, now I gotta go.
Right? Oh, damn, he's cheating on his girl. Now I gotta find his girl and tell her.
Yeah.
Not fun.
I mean, I just think of the fact that I have ADHD.
It's just feel like a squirrel brain.
And learning that not everyone has an internal monologue or 5 conversations in your head was eye-opening for me. I was like, wait, what do you mean there's no voice that talks to you in your head? People are like, no, what are you talking about?
You know what? Because I was listening to you, Keiki, but I was also hearing Edward Cullen about money, sex, cat.
Yeah. Money, cat. It would be that. It would be why is she thinking about orange chicken and gardening and an Amazon wish list at the same time and Fourth Wing? It's just it's not really working, it's a lot of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of tabs open in this thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like a protection against a Dain because he touches you and then he's getting a concert. It's where I can't listen to.
Yeah, he's like, why are we at the Renaissance tour? We're just there, dude.
Yeah, the Renaissance tab is always open in this brain. Leave me alone.
I love it.
Why are we doing the Apple dance from TikTok?
I don't know.
Because
they're here. Well, Torian, I feel like we've kidnapped you for a very long time. Is there anything?
It does not feel like any time has flown by. Genuinely, this has been so lovely.
Yay. Is there anything else you wanted to say either about the strike or about some projects you have coming up or even Fourth Wing itself?
I'm very excited that we got Onyx Storm in the works. It's once Rebecca announced that, it wasn't confirmed that Graphic Audio was also doing it. So Kaya, Gabe, and I all talk. We're like, did you see anything? Are we doing it? We're talk to our directors. Are we getting it? And it's confirmed. Very happy that's happening. As far as upcoming stuff, there's game projects that I will be able to talk about when the strike is over. So if you want to keep up with my stuff, you can follow me at TBVO, BWVO across all platforms.
Awesome.
Well, ladies, was there anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to ask?
Torian, will you come back so we can talk about Onyx Storm?
Oh, I can't wait to hear how Dain lands on you all after this third book. Happy to.
If we have to apologize, we will.
True.
Yeah. We're good people like that.
We're adults. We understand when we're wrong.
I'll be back for the victory tour.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a Sagittarius though, so it'll be more like I'm sorry you felt that way with my actions.
Yeah. And as a Taurus, I'm very much like, well, it's your fault that you made me.
As a Gemini, yes, I offended you, and I'll do it again.
Amazing. Well,
now I feel like we have to ask your sign.
Oh yeah, what's your sign?
Sagittarius, so I get it.
Okay.
When's your
Hey,
Birthday.
happy birthday.
December 12th.
I'm the 11th. We're almost twins.
Yes! Oh my gosh, happy belated to us.
Happy belated to us. Thank you so much again for chatting with us. This has been so much fun. And
Great time.
give a good word to your buddies who do Violet and Zayden, and hopefully we'll have them on the podcast as well. And until next time, guys, we still have to talk about Divine Rivals, and we still have to talk about the Mindfuck series. We're a little behind, but we'll get there.
Have we really not recorded those episodes? Because I read those books a while ago.
We have not.
Shit, I'm gonna have to read Mindfuck again.
But yeah, until next time, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.